My name is Alexa, and I'm gonna tell you about the most terrifying thing that has ever happened to me. It was September 2020, and I was filming my first horror story of the month for my travel vlog. I had gone to Baguio in the Philippines to check out some of the scariest haunted places in the city. During the Japanese occupation of the Philippines in World War II, thousands of Filipino and American soldiers stayed at the hotel while they fought to free the country from Imperial Japanese rule. It was also used as a prison camp for Japanese soldiers captured by the Allies. The sun was setting fast. I needed to get home before dark. But as I turned to go, I realized I couldn't find the exit. Raspy and guttural, forming words. "You shouldn't have come here," they hissed. A gaping hole had been torn in the boards covering the window. "Alexa, you need to leave now. It's dangerous." His voice was laced with urgency. The dark shape stirred again, and this time I saw it move. Slowly, ever so slowly, it began to crawl through the hole. Its limbs twisted at unnatural angles, dragging itself closer and closer. Hope surged through me, and I poured every ounce of strength I had left into one final sprint. But I knew the nightmare I had endured was real. The creature, the whispering voices, the feeling of being hunted, it had all been too real. Could the entity I had encountered been one of the soldiers imprisoned there during the war? As I rounded a corner, my camera suddenly panned to a shadowy figure standing in the distance. Tall and gaunt, it seemed to be watching me, its eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. I remembered the old monk I had spoken with earlier that day. He had warned me about taking relics from the hotel, saying some items held powerful spirits. Could I have picked something up that didn't belong to me? Desperate to make things right, I hurried back to Diplomat Hotel, racing against the fading light. I searched frantically for anything out of place, but as I turned each dusty corner, the air grew heavier, the darkness deeper. I could feel their presence all around me. Hope surged through me. Was this the ring? Kneeling down, I reached out to touch it, but as my fingers brushed against the cold metal, a voice boomed through the hall. "You took what was ours, and now you will pay." Terror seized me. Whatever force had been watching me was angry, and whatever it had planned, I was its target. Their whispers echoing in my ears. I thrashed wildly, desperate to break free, but they were relentless, pulling me closer to the darkness. Gasping for breath, I turned and fled, racing down the endless hallway. But their angry shouts echoed behind me, urging me onward. I had to get away to escape their clutches. I struggled against their iron grip, my nails scratching against rough stone, but it was no use. They dragged me deeper into the hotel's shadowy depths. But sometimes at night, when the wind whispers through my window, I hear their voices calling my name, reminding me of the night I should never have spent at Diplomat Hotel. I tried to call out, but my voice was lost in the oppressive silence. I was truly trapped in a labyrinth of fear, surrounded by unseen watchers, each step taking me deeper into their grasp. Hope surged through me. Maybe I could still escape. Bursting through the doorway, I stumbled out into the daylight, collapsing on the ground outside. Panting heavily, I looked back at Diplomat Hotel. Its windows glittered in the sunlight, hiding whatever horrors lay within. I knew I would never forget what had happened there. The suffocating dread, the unseen watcher, the ghostly touch of the past, any item that might have been a mistake to take. But I couldn't find anything. But it wasn't just the figure that caught my attention. Something else was there too. My gaze fell on a small wooden box tucked away in the corner. It was covered in dust and cobwebs, clearly forgotten by whoever had lived here. Inside, I found a faded photograph of a young girl with haunting eyes. Next to her, two monks, their faces obscured by the passage of time. I stared at them, a chill creeping up my spine. Suddenly, I understood. These were the monks who had died here, the ones whose restless spirits were trapped within Diplomat Hotel. Hope surged through me. This could be it. With trembling hands, I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on faded velvet, was a tarnished silver locket. It looked ancient, heavy with untold years. As I reached for it, a sudden jolt shot through my arm. Startled, I pulled back. What had I just experienced? Was this locket the source of the disturbance? What power did it hold? On the floor in front of it, I could see a pair of feet, size 13 work boots, with what looked like blood stains on the soles. How could this be? As far as I know, nobody has died at Diplomat Hotel, or have they? A large silver ring with an ornate design. It looked just like the one I had seen on the statue. And in that moment, I knew I had disturbed something I wasn't meant to. I had unwittingly unleashed the spirits of Diplomat Hotel. Could the entity I had encountered been one of the soldiers imprisoned there during the war? And what was it doing watching me? I shiver just thinking about it. I vowed never to go back, never to speak of what I had experienced there. I burst through the opening and stumbled out into the daylight, collapsing on the ground outside, gasping for breath. In one of the clips, as I'm walking through the hallway, my camera suddenly pans to a shadowy figure standing in the distance. Tall and gaunt, it seems to be watching me, its eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. But it wasn't just the figure that caught my attention. Something else was there too. Soft, raspy, and undeniably human. "Alexa, you took something from us. Now you must give it back." The voice sent chills down my spine. Had I done something terrible without realizing it? What did they want from me? On the floor in front of it, I can see a pair of feet, size 13 work boots with what look like bloodstains on the soles. But how could that be? I lay there for a moment, my whole body shaking, my heart pounding against my ribs. When I finally looked back at the hotel, my blood ran cold. Panic flooded through me, icy and sharp. I wanted to run, to hide, but my feet were rooted to the spot. I could only watch in growing horror as the creature clawed its way through the boards. I wanted to ask who he was, but my lips wouldn't form the words. All I could do was stare at the hole in the window and wait. Light streamed through the opening, revealing a dark shape huddled on the other side. It stirred and shifted, and I could have sworn it beckoned to me, urging me closer. Then, with a final sickening crunch, the board split apart. I ran blindly down the hallways, desperate to escape whatever that thing was. But the hallway seemed endless, always the same, always twisting and turning, leading me in circles. I could hear the creature behind me moving with an unnerving grace, its heavy breathing echoing in my ears. I imagined its eyes boring into my back, its claws outstretched, ready to tear me apart. The creature slipped through the opening, landing on the floor with a thud. For a moment, it just lay there, still and silent. Then it started to move toward me. I wanted to scream, to break free from this nightmare. But terror froze my voice. What was that thing? Was it trapped on the other side? Or was it waiting to get in? "This is our home now. You'll never leave alive." The growl rumbled again, closer this time. I tried to call out for help, but no sound came out. I was trapped in a prison of fear with unseen entities closing in. "Leave now, turn back." I froze, fear gripping my heart. But another voice, softer, pleaded, "Stay, don't leave." Confused, I hesitated. That's when I saw it. A figure standing in the shadows, tall and gaunt, its eyes glowing an eerie red in the gloom. I screamed and ran again, stumbling blindly, desperate to escape. But then I tripped, falling hard to the ground. Scrambling to get up, I realized I was trapped in a nightmare. Every hallway looked the same, long and narrow with peeling paint and flickering shadows. Suddenly panicked, I started running, desperate to escape before the darkness enveloped me. But the more I ran, the worse things got. I could feel a presence with me, something unseen moving just beyond my sight. The air grew colder, and a low growl echoed through the halls. I was being stalked. Some say that when the war ended and the US withdrew its forces, more than 400 Filipino and American soldiers remained behind. The building became known as Diplomat Hotel in 1968. It was renamed in honor of the many diplomats who had stayed in the building over the years. However, it's now closed to the public, seemingly abandoned with an eerie silence hanging heavy in the air. Right before my eyes, I was alone once more, or so I thought, when a scratching sound reached my ears, coming from the boarded-up window in front of me. It scraped against the wood as if someone were trying to claw their way out. I stumbled back, fear lending speed to my movements. But when I whirled around to run, I realized the window was blocked by a solid wall. There was no way out. The hallway shifted. The walls twisted and reformed, trapping me in a new, even more terrifying configuration. I was lost. Now the growling stopped. Silence pressed in on me, heavy and suffocating. Then, just when I thought I couldn't take another second of terror, footsteps echoed down the hall. Slow, deliberate steps approaching me. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the worst. Of course, those are just stories people tell tourists like me, but I soon learned there may be some truth to them. But when I arrived at my last stop, the Diplomat Hotel, everyone warned me not to spend the night there. Apparently, anyone who did was doomed to suffer a gruesome fate. Of course, I didn't listen. I spent the night there, and I shouldn't have. The hotel was built in 1910 and is known as one of the most haunted buildings in Baguio. As I arrived, I noticed the walls were covered with graffiti and broken glass crunched under my feet. The smell of decay hung thick in the air, and weeds poked through cracks in the pavement. I stepped inside and immediately felt a cold breeze on my neck. Though all the windows and doors were boarded up tight, dust motes danced in the dim light filtering in from a hole in the ceiling. I wandered down a long hallway, my footsteps echoing loudly. The place felt heavy, burdened by unseen eyes watching my every move. As I continued exploring, I noticed strange markings carved into the walls, almost like coordinates or some kind of map. I took pictures, fascinated but a little creeped out. When I finally decided to leave, then I heard a whisper. The whispers grew louder, then suddenly, but when I dared to open them again, the hallway had changed once more. The footsteps were gone, the walls had shifted yet again, then I saw it. And that's when I heard his voice. It came out of nowhere, whispering urgently in my ear. Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed through the room, rattling the loose boards covering the window. The scraping grew louder, more frantic as it tore at the wood. Terror lent speed to my movements, and I fled. Just when I thought I couldn't run anymore, I saw a sliver of light ahead. The morning sun glistened off the windows, making them sparkle like shards of ice. Diplomat Hotel looked beautiful, serene, almost inviting. But then, a few days later, as I was going through my footage, reviewing the videos I had taken that night, I found something I couldn't explain. As far as I know, no one has died at Diplomat Hotel. Or have they? That night, as I was editing my footage, I noticed something disturbing in one of the clips. Then I heard a voice. In the midst of my panic, just as I was about to give up. Torn between fear and morbid curiosity, I opened the locket. As I looked closer at the photograph, my heart skipped a beat. One of the monks was holding something familiar. Rushing back to the hotel, I searched desperately for the ring. I had to return it, undo what I had done. Then I saw it, a glint of metal in the gloom. Before I could react, unseen hands clamped over my mouth, stifling my scream. With a final surge of strength, I kicked out, catching the unseen figure off guard. I scrambled back, my heart pounding against my ribs. Then I saw it, a sliver of light ahead. From that day forward, I avoided the old hotel, choosing to remember the terror I had faced rather than uncover its secrets.